All right, I am Reverend T. I am the unrefined priest, and today we're going to be talking about Joe Rogan going to church. You heard that correct. Joe Rogan is going to church. And I've been very hesitant to talk about this because I love the fact that Joe Rogan is going to church. I want to encourage that and to push that as much as possible. But I also don't want to make a big deal about this. This is one guy who is on kind of a spiritual journey, and I want to respect the journey. So I want to talk about this as an example of something that is taking place that is a little bit bigger than just Joe Rogan going to church, which is really, really cool. I wish Joe Rogan would come to my church. But there is something that's going on culturally. And I think you're seeing it in two areas. I think that you're seeing an interest in things that are holy, things that are spiritual, things that are deeper than just you and I. And I also think that you are seeing kind of a realization that there's nothing at the bottom of sin and brokenness. And I think that you're seeing both of these things come together. So I want to talk about it. I think PBD did a really great job talking about this. He had a guy on his channel. I can't remember his name. Taylor something, Marshall, I think, he's a really fascinating guy. I didn't know him before this interview, but I certainly subscribed to his channel afterwards. But PBD is going to ask him about Joe Rogan and Joe Rogan going to church. They're going to talk about it a little bit, and then I'll pause it and break that down. But then the conversation gets really interesting when they move beyond that and they move to just talking about degeneracy and where that takes you and where it leaves you. So let me play the first part, and then I'll share a little bit about my thoughts on it.
Rogan talking about he's going to church. Have you been here?
I have. It's fantastic.
Do you have a clip of it, Rob?
I do.
Is this him talking about it?
Yes.
Go for it.
Wait, are you going to church too, or is that bullshit?
I have been to church.
Oh, fuck.
Why?
Have you ever been to church before?
I've been.
It's actually very nice. They're all just trying to be better people. It's a good vibe.
Why don't you go to a Catholic
They sing.
church?
I tried that. I did that.
I went to St. Pat's in New York.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place.
So nice. Some
But
guy
wait.
gave me a rosary. I keep it.
If it's not
very
Catholic,
nice.
which one is it?
It's just a Christian church.
A non-denominational Christian.
church.
Yeah, all this fucking
Joel
gibberish.
Osteen shit?
I'm just giving all my money to
Funny
Austin.
What do you think about this?
I think it's
about
great. I mean, he has been bringing on a lot more Christian conservative thinkers, and so I don't watch every single Joe Rogan show, but I've watched tons of them, hundreds of them, and I've seen that trajectory. I'm not totally surprised. You've seen, Candace Owens became Catholic last year.
Yeah, I saw that.
Jordan Peterson's wife became Catholic.
She looks
last
like
year.
she's on track for 8 kids, by the way.
They just had number
3.
Yeah, no, they're 4, I think.
That 3 sons. You're right. Yes,
yeah,
they're on track. They're on track. To
They're
double
traditional
digits.
Catholic.
Yeah.
They're hitting those. We got to hit the.
All right, so I'm going to pause it there. I'm going to skip this next part because they're just going to talk about having a lot of kids and how the Catholic Church and the Mormons promote having a lot of kids. So I'm going to skip that part and I'm going to get to the later part. But there's a couple things that are really interesting about this. First of all, Joe Rogan is just... He's not really talking about going to church, but he's also not dodging it as well, which I really appreciate. And it does have this authenticity about it where he's going to church, but he's not making a show about going to church. And if people ask him about it, He's very open to talking about it, and he's very open to defending it too, which I thought was really cool. He's just talking about, some really good vibe there, and people are just there trying to be better people, trying to live into the person and work of Jesus Christ, and that's really what church is. And then they go into this little bit about trying to get him to go to a Catholic church, and he's like, no, I've been there, I've done that, I'm not going to do that. And a little funny stuff about Joel Osteen, which I absolutely loved. Anybody that's going to take a dig at these prosperity gospel preachers, I am all for. Down with the prosperity gospel. I love this. I love the openness that Joe Rogan has. And, and Taylor Marshall is going to bring up that if you've watched Joe Rogan podcast, you can easily see this trajectory that is taking place. He has become more and more open to Christianity. And if you watched Joe Rogan a long time ago, which I've been watching Joe Rogan for quite a while, I was introduced to Joe Rogan through the show Fear Factor, was my first kind of introduction to him. And then he moved into MMA stuff, and that didn't really have an interest in me, so I kind of fell away. But when his podcast really started up and he really started bringing in big thinkers, that's when I tuned back into Joe Rogan and love what he's doing there. But he has brought in a lot of more Christian thinkers, which I think is really interesting. I think, the last big one he brought in was Wesley Huff, which really, I think, got the wheels turning for Joe Rogan. I'm not saying that Wesley Huff converted Joe Rogan, but it was a conversation that I think impacted Joe Rogan, because he's sitting down with this guy that is just a normal human being who loves Jesus and is actually able to back up his belief in Jesus with facts and positions, which you don't often see. And so I think that really turned some things on for Joe Rogan. And I just love the fact that, he's going to church, and this is a part of his process of moving more and more towards Christ. Now, the second part of this video, I'm going to fast forward the having a bunch of kids conversation, but the second part of this is where it really gets interesting, because this is where they're going to talk about the dead end of debauchery, the dead end of degeneracy. Like, there's only so far down that road you can go till you realize, hey, there's nothing here. And this is something that I think that the church needed to be aware of a long time ago, because the church has, unfortunately, tried to become more and more like the culture. And so we said, yeah, we're going to go with this, and we're going to go with this, and we're going to go with this. And we just kept going with things until we had nothing left to give to the world. When in reality, you could have just waited until people hit that point where they realize there's nothing here. There's nothing down this road. And then you begin seeing people slowly make that turn back to the church. But unfortunately, the church has given up so much. Particularly, I am an Episcopal priest, and the Episcopal Church has just lost its way a long time ago. I mean, we just gave in to every cultural desire there is, to the point that there was nothing that made us distinct from the culture that everybody else was in. So why would they ever come to church? And so seeing the turn taking place is really something that I'm excited to see. So let me fast forward this a little bit and bring
Pump those numbers,
They're
people.
going.
Pump the maybe live the degenerate lifestyle, and they advice, and they're like, we love seeing your family.
Right.
And
so
and
right
I just gave them
after
some
this
advice. And so there are these people who I think have maybe lived the degenerate lifestyle, and they party, and they got out in time, and they realize, I really want to live that transcendent life.
To get out of that degenerate lifestyle quick. You know, it's because it you can prolong that for 30 years.
I mean, you and I know, like, we had friends. You can drink and party, but once they start hitting 40, you can see it on them.
Yeah, it's like, dude, relax.
Yeah.
Like, use that, aging for the right investment, and it's kids. But Rogan, so you're saying the trajectory. You watch hundreds of episodes. You've kind of seen where he's going. What is the trajectory that you've seen him go through? Because he is the modern day Johnny Carson, right? Where people are watching him go through it, and I would also put the modern day Johnny Carson with some kind of because with Johnny was all entertainment, right?
Yeah.
There's an element of here learning, education,
I think he's
curiosity.
He's a Johnny Carson, but he's also kind of a tribal leader because he has all these people.
No question
in
about
his wake. I started. I was a jiu-jitsu guy, and I was watching him because of jiu-jitsu and UFC and all that. And then he started getting more into the intellectual and having professors on. I was like, oh, this is interesting, like a new turn for Joe Rogan.
Right.
And then through kind of the Trump years, he started, saying something like, that sounds kind of MAGA, Joe. Like, you're starting to go a little MAGA. And then he had Trump on, and I saw he was covering like the Shroud of Turin, and he's had a couple of evangelical Protestants on, and I'm like, they aren't just showing up here accidentally. Clearly, I mean, we both do podcasts and interview people. You kind of explore the space, like, that person would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Right.
So he's clearly curating these guests, and he's exploring it. So when I saw that, I was happy for him. I think he grew up Catholic and early on left it. I think that's his backstory. But I think it's a great trajectory, and we're starting to see it with so many people, athletes, people in the public eye. There is an end to degeneracy. You can only be so gay, so many genders, so,
You can only be so gay? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You can only be so gay.
Yeah, you can never go full gay, right? But you can only go... there's only so many drugs and so many experiences and so many, different varieties of partners. You eventually come to the abyss of being, and you're like, is this all there is? I mean, there's a whole book of the Bible, Ecclesiastes. He says, I tried everything, food, women, everything, and everything's vanity of vanities. I found no meaning. I found no hope. I found no joy. And then he says, so what is the meaning of life? And he says, it's to fear the Lord. That's a transcendent.
All right. I mean, that's it. I mean, these guys are walking through this idea with Joe Rogan in mind, but this is an idea that is taking place culturally. You're seeing this play out in our culture in a variety of ways through a variety of different people, like sports athletes, entertainers, people like Joe Rogan, who have gone down this road and have realized there's nothing here. There's nothing at the end of it. You just have to keep pushing yourself further and further down that road, and it never ends. And you hit this wall where the realization sets in that I'm destroying myself. I am destroying who I am and who I was meant to be. And there's no fulfillment, and there's no joy, and there's no delight down this road. And you begin to make that turn, and you begin to walk back, and you begin to realize where the joy is. And this goes back to the beginning of the interview when Joe Rogan is talking about his church experience, and he's just saying there's a good vibe there. It's a lot of people trying to be better people. And you get to the point in your life where you're not as much interested in broken encounters as much as you are interested in, how can I be a better person? How can I know Jesus? How can I get in touch with the one who created it all more? And you see both of these things taking place at the same time, where there's a realization that the sinfulness that we have found delight in is broken now, and it's joyless, and there's nothing there. And at the same time, you realize that there is a place that I can go to that I've actually been running away from for the majority of my life that offers that very thing. And seeing it in Joe Rogan is exciting, but we're seeing this taking place all over the place with a variety of different people. And I love this, and it shows the church that you don't need to bend to the culture to be relevant. The culture will realize that they've gone down a road that is empty, that is void, that has nothing there, and they will come back. And I love it. I love to see it in Joe. I love to see these guys talk about it, and I love talking about it myself. So Joe Rogan going to church, really, really interesting. But my name is Reverend T. I am the Unrefined Priest. If you like what I'm doing, hit that like button as well as the subscribe button, and I will catch you on the next one.